For a while, I saw Formula One as the in-laws to the United States. They weren't necessarily fond of us, but would still fake a smile when they came to visit us for their yearly holiday. Well, I guess they wanted to bury the hatchet, because in 2017 they were bought out by a company called Liberty Media, a conglomerate known for their revitalization of brands like SiriusXM and Starz. And fittingly, they're based out of the US. Actually, out of Colorado. Actually, out of Englewood, Colorado. Wait a minute.
Well, when in Rome.
Like their other ventures, they had big plans for F1, giving it a shiny new logo, a catchy new theme song, and a much-needed change in outlook for their brand. They were supposed to be the premier motorsport of the world, and yet in the US landscape, they were still being beat by the fledgling fucks at NASCAR, who were facing their lowest ratings since the turn of the millennium. That, coupled with a lack of star-studded representation and Lewis Hamilton standing pretty much unopposed, made for an overall unappealing product for the American consumer. We just weren't buying it, but what we were buying was Netflix. Since their turn from mail-order DVDs, their customer base had grown exponentially with the advent of original shows like Stranger Things and The Crown. And the creative minds in F1's media stable saw an opportunity. If they couldn't find a way onto our televisions, then they were going to find a way onto our phones, our tablets, our computers, and also our televisions. And thus, Drive to Survive was born. Fast forward a few years and wow. I wouldn't go so far as to say it was the sole reason behind F1's big turnaround in the States, as it was more likely the result of many combined efforts, but I will say this. Every one of my friends who watches F1 watches the show. Hell, even if they don't watch the races, I hear the same things every time. Oh, Daniel Ricciardo's such a goofball. Max Verstappen won't stop winning. I want Charles Leclerc to fuck me! You know, stuff like that. Needless to say, it's turned from a simple sporting event to a cultural icon. And that's where they'd like the story to end, as a happily ever after for their brand as well as their bank accounts. But it's not that simple. Like most aspects of real life, there's a lot more bubbling underneath the surface than might initially meet the eye. Classism, price gouging, gatekeeping, full-blown sabotage. The whole 9 yards for the world's titular motorsport turned toxic, turned to chasing dollar bills like the field chasing Verstappen. And through everything between unforeseen consequence and meticulously executed betrayal, they have turned into the most elitist motorsport in the world. Once upon a time, that time being 10 years ago, the average value of a Formula One team was about $500 million. These days, that number sits at almost $2 billion, an almost 200% increase when adjusted for inflation. That's almost incredible, and even with the increasingly strict cost caps, the teams have managed to bring in more money than ever before. And while I couldn't find the exact net value of the sport over that same time span, I'd venture to bet that it follows suit. Now, just having more money isn't necessarily a bad thing. Just ask Mr. Beast. It's about what you do with it, where it goes, and in some cases, where it comes from. Some might find backing in dealership and energy drink sales, but the bulk of the bucks come from investors, sponsors, and wealthy business people who find themselves yearning for promotion or a simple need for speed. This is why, even for the smallest space on a front wing end plate, people are willing to shell out millions of dollars each and every year. In some cases, however, they have to take it a step further. It isn't enough to stick their logo on the car or have all-access paddock passes. Oh no, they need to send their own horse into the race. And with that, I introduce to you pay drivers.
Nikita Mazepin in the hat, spearing off. That is Nicholas Latifi, and hitting the barriers as well, Lance Stroll.
That's right, the elite have found their new polo. Instead of riding prancing horses, they're now driving them, and the landscape of the sport tends to be worse off as a result. While they sometimes impress, paid drivers tend to underperform, likely due to the security and comfort of their daddies footing all the bills. But if there's one thing that can justify their place, it's this, the FIA Super License. Every F1 driver needs one to compete, and you don't just get it by passing a simple driver's test. Over the course of 3 years, you have to accumulate 40 points by winning championships, or at least coming close in some of the highest levels of motorsport in the world not called Formula One. Most vouch to take the Formula 2 route, as it awards more points than any other FIA series and basically assures at least a consideration for the big time. But there is one other championship that awards just as much. A championship that, while recognized by the FIA, they do us all the favor of keeping their grubby hands off of. IndyCar.
Oh, look out! Nice save! Sideways! Nice save from Colton Herta.
An IndyCar championship is worth the same as a top 3 points finish in Formula 2. And while the American-born Colton Herta hadn't captured the cup by 2022, he did manage 7th, 3rd, and 5th place points finishes respectively, enough for 32 points towards his super license. Showing incredible promise at just 22 years old, he was primed for a seat at AlphaTauri, with Helmut Marko hoping he could fill the void that Pierre Gasly would leave behind. Unfortunately, 32 is not 40, and so the FIA denied his application for a super license, leaving any and all aspirations to make it to the world stage in ruin. On one hand, rules are rules. They've been using this system since the 90s, and it would be unfair to make an exception in this one case. On the other hand, you can literally never touch the top step in the second-tier Formula Series and still be promoted. It's a controversial system to say the very least, and the racing world, Americans in particular, were quick to let the FIA know. And I think SiriusXM's Dave Moody put it best. F1 has made it very clear for many years they have no interest in US drivers, just US dollars. Foreshadowing. But for now, F1 would have to go another year without stars and stripes. Another year sans Americans on the grid. That is until a few months later when we would see the rise of Logan Sargent. And Logan would feel right at home in his rookie year, as for the first time since 1982, the United States would host not one, not two, but 3 Grand Prix in 2023. Austin, Texas had already hosted the USGP since 2012, Miami had been added the year prior, and now they were headed to the Sin City, the world's greatest tourist trap, Las Vegas. In theory, it was a match made in heaven, the world's richest motorsport stopping in the gambling capital of the world. But in execution... yeah. Beyond the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trying to kill Carlos Sainz and the FIA penalizing him for it, the race created some insane issues, not just during the weekend, but in the months leading up to it. Not only did the construction of the circuit turn the city into a logistical hellhole, well, more than it already is, but it also disrupted business. Like, a lot of business. Like, tens of millions of dollars for every small business in the area. An event that was supposed to prop Vegas up under the world spotlight actively stole from its economy. And with total disregard for any and all losses or damage they caused, F1 officials had the gall, the nerve, the cojones to brag, saying that the race stimulated the economy.
See, now that's some bullshit.
But let's talk about economic stimulation, because a big part of a thriving economy is understanding supply and demand. The delicate balance between peddling a product and pricing it to match. This is important because in all my years of walking on God's green earth, I have never seen an entity so bad at pricing things as Formula One.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-chingery. Money, oh money, how I love thee.
As an American, I do my fair share of complaining when I have to pay $5 for a McDonald's cheeseburger. But when I saw some of the ticket prices for the Las Vegas Grand Prix, I was like, you know what? It was alright. General admission, $500. Grandstand seat, $2,000. Trackside suite, $8,000. And that's on the lower end. The hotel casinos had a field day, with Resorts World Las Vegas selling a weekend package for $888,000, the Wynn selling one for $1 million, and Caesar's Palace coming in hot with a whopping $5 million Emperor package. For that kind of price, you should have a reserve slot on the grid. But let's make our way back down for a minute, because to me, the most egregious ticket was one of those $500 ones. A ticket for an area of the track where you couldn't even see the track! What? Why? Why would you sell that? Who the fuck would buy that? Obviously, things didn't stay like this for long when F1 realized, oh yeah, we actually want people to come here. And so the prices dropped, people bought them, the race was run, and then the circus moved on, leaving a $500 million hole in southern Nevada. So basically Las Vegas as it already was. And now we've arrived at the most recent nugget of news, another doozy that somehow ruffled more feathers than the Colton Herta rejection. You see, in early 2023, Herta's boss, Michael Andretti, yes, that Andretti, began an extensive process to get his team, Andretti Cadillac, on the Formula One grid. And initially, things were on the up and up. They had a plan that could bring them into the sport as early as 2025, and General Motors were ready to build their engines come 2028. It was a solid plan, and the FIA seemed to agree, as in October they gave Andretti the green light to continue forward and keep working on their program. Now all they had to do was get approval from Liberty Media, as commercial rights holders, and bada bing bada boom, should be a piece of cake, right?
We have had an announcement from Formula One. They are not deemed fit to join the grid in commercial terms by the sport's commercial rights holder in either of those 2 seasons. It's quite a lengthy statement. It says, our assessment process has established that the presence of an 11th team would not, on its own, provide value to the championship.
As much of a gut punch as this is to the whole racing community, it seems only fitting. For a sport with such an incomprehensible amount of money, they sure are afraid of losing it, and for a sport so eager to expand, they sure do like keeping things the same. But it further proves the point. They don't want US drivers. They don't even want US teams. They want US dollars, and nothing more. As teams like Haas and AlphaTauri, the Visa Cash App RB Formula One team, continue to putter around, wasting valuable slots, one of the most decorated names in racing history. A name that routinely finds victory in IndyCar and just beat the likes of Penske, Jaguar, and McLaren in Formula E, cannot bring himself to show any reaction beyond devastation. And for most of us American race fans, our reaction was the same. Andretti could have another shot once they have GM's engine backing, but that would be at least 4 years away. That's a long time. In terms of staying in our good graces, maybe too much time. Which leads me to my conclusion. Formula One is a juggernaut. They've been riding a tsunami-sized wave of momentum for the better part of a decade that shows no signs of slowing. But more decisive than that, they're willing to do whatever it takes to stay relevant. They're willing to turn away from their home soil and plow new pastures, reaping all of their fruits in the process. They're willing to die on the hill of an outdated system where deep pockets rule the world and genuine talent is rendered obsolete. They're willing to meddle and manipulate until every aspect of their competition is as artificial as the company that runs it. You know who else did this? I mean, to a T. Each and everything I just mentioned. You know who did it first? NASCAR. NASCAR once found a similar slice of the social zeitgeist, and in lieu of their newfound popularity, they expanded west. They built new tracks, tapped into larger markets, but in the process left the majority of their fan base in pursuit of the almighty dollar. Since then, they've found themselves in a 2-decade dip they have yet to emerge from. And despite it not being for a lack of trying, including releasing their own Netflix series, I and many other die-hard NASCAR fans will tell you, we don't see this changing anytime soon. This is why the folks at Formula One need to be careful. They caught lightning in a bottle, and while they might be skating by for now, the ice beneath them is getting thin. They're officially falling out of our good graces, and as long as they continue to treat America like their own private resort, things will only get worse. But you might be thinking, who cares? That's just a small minority of an entire fan base. It doesn't matter. F1's too big to fail. And all I have to say is, we used to say the same thing about NASCAR.